So after doing that build out on the V1 pistol from UNLOCX, I started thinking there's some cool things I can do to the full size UNLOCX blaster that I have. So if you remember, when the last mod I did to this was before there were 11.1 batteries that were these smaller sizes. And so I actually had a very large kind of riser on the top and a battery access point right here. So I already took care of that. I sanded that down. I put my little logo over the top of that spot where there was a hole anyway. So definitely got that looking a little nicer. And my plan is to go ahead and do something like I did with the other one, where I'm going to go ahead and put this buffer tube adapter, on the back here so that we can go ahead and have a buffer tube stock off of here. And I'm actually going to run the wires for the battery into the buffer tube so that it's a lot easier to change the battery, because on this one, you can go ahead and charge. The way UNLOCX works is the battery can be charged while it's inside here, because it's down below this piece, which takes 2 screws to get it off, and you just charge it off the little micro USB. But I'm going to get rid of that instead, run the wires out the back, and that way you can go ahead and have multiple batteries, which just makes more sense to me. So that's what I'm going to do with that right there. Now, I know I've shown you guys the UNLOCX with 11.1 volt batteries. You can do it if you're really careful. And if you've watched some of my videos, you see I have so many blasters that I can go ahead and mess around with them without worrying too much about it. But if you're using this as your primary blaster with an 11.1, it's not really a matter of if it's going to break, it's a matter of when. So just know that, yeah, it's fun, it's cool. I still will show you a lot of times different blasters with 11.1, but just know it will probably end up breaking. So I'm not going to advise that you do it. And that's why I always said, do so at your own risk. If this is your only blaster and, you don't have any money to buy another one, probably not a great idea. But otherwise, go ahead and do whatever you want. Of course, it's your blaster. So let's talk about what we're going to do to customize this a little bit. You can see I've already added a full rail on top. So there's going to be a full rail on top, and I've got this full rail riser. And this one actually printed in pieces, which I have not had to do. I mean, I usually have to cut it in pieces, but this one prints like side, side, and then top. So this is going to go, right on top. Of course, I'm going to get it all glued together really nice and sanded and painted before it goes on. But it's going to go on top like this, right? And so it should be kind of perfect size. Might be slightly long, but that's okay. So then we got the full size riser up top, which will look really cool, I think. And again, this one was actually intended, actually for a gel blaster, but like an AR-15, and it was very long. I did have to cut the back slightly with some software to make it a little shorter. So we're going to go ahead with that, have that full riser up top. Going to have the buffer tube off the back and reroute the wiring through the buffer tube. Printed this type of rail because it's kind of concave here, so that I can mount a rail on the bottom here, and it'll actually sit a little more flush. It's still not going to be perfect, but it's going to be pretty close, especially when painted out to match. And then I really like how I went ahead with a grip like this, which again is usually for a barrel, a 4-barrel, a front barrel, but I can go ahead and kind of put something like this on the front of the mag again, so that you have that spot for a hand grab, or if I put some sort of, actual grip out here. So those are kind of my plans with this one. Nice thing with the UNLOCX, if you have the large one like this, there's actually a threaded barrel on this end of the rifle module underneath that orange piece. So I remember when I did this originally, I was all trying to cut this piece off, and then I'm like, oh, there's a threaded barrel here, so I don't need to add one. So that's pretty cool. So those of you who want to put tracers on blasters, you get the full-size UNLOCX. You've already got a 14mm counterclockwise right here. You can go ahead and put a tracer on it very easily. You can't really do that with any of the splatter balls, so something to consider. All right, so that's my build plan. This is kind of video 1. I'll do a couple videos as we get it put together, start getting it painted out. I'm not going to paint all of it. I'm thinking just this white piece here and this piece here, and then that'll coordinate with whatever I end up doing with the stock. And then I'm going to leave the orange just because, it's nice to actually be able to see if you have gel balls in there, but also, Actually, it wouldn't be that hard to paint this magazine, but I still think I'm going to leave it just because I want to. So that's my plan right now. Not sure what color we'll do. We'll just have to see what I have for paint choices. So stay tuned for video number 2. It'll probably be at least, 3 or 4 parts of videos that I'll just kind of split up so they're not super long. Anyway, please comment or question below. And of course, like, subscribe, share with your friends, and participate in the giveaways. I appreciate your support, so I love giving back with some of these cool custom blasters.